Take it over. Yep, my life is an open book. Okay, you guys, welcome back. I don't know if we have any new additions since this morning, but I will reintroduce myself. My name is Jessie, last name is Powers, and I'm the Pro and Media Educator for Makeup Forever. And I've been lucky enough to be with the brand for 10 years. So I definitely have a long experience with product, new, old, discontinued. I love to talk about product. And really it's my job just to be a liaison and an educator with makeup artists like yourself. So this is always a lovely opportunity to get to know a little bit more about you, your markets, and what's relevant to you here. So with that being said, today's class is really about editorial work. And I saw some hands raised in the crowd for like, yes, I get to do editorial. But here's the truth of editorial work, and I think you know this. It is few and far between. It is very competitive. And many times when you are in like a satellite market like the DC area or the Mid-Atlantic, you may not have all of the opportunities that an artist who lives in New York or in Europe or in Los Angeles has in terms of the wide variety of publications, photographers, stylists, and colleagues to work with. So you guys have to fight even harder for those editorial jobs. And sometimes, you know, when you're hired by a magazine, you know, of course, it's my dream to get to do Vogue Italia. Am I ever going to get to do Vogue Italia? Sure, it's in the cards. But you still can get a lot of mileage even out of something that's regional. And every time I check into a new hotel in a new place, I always go like right into the magazine rack to take a look at what their lifestyle regional magazines look like. Because that is where I think you can get work. And then the other way that I think you can get work is if you are willing to travel. So, and that's hard because editorial does not pay. I mean, it pays a pittance. It pays enough for you to probably replenish your kit. But really the reason why we go after editorial work and why we want to do it is for relevance in fashion, and it's for relevance in your book, and it's for relevance in terms of who you work with and how you collaborate. And it's also for inspiration because that's where you have a little bit more freedom than you might have if you're being, you know, hired by Brooks Brothers, where you know you're just going to be doing bone, stone, mahogany all day long. Who worked for Bobby in here, by the way? I'm just going to say. I heard somebody do like a little tiny, like, bone, stone, mahogany. I'm an ex-Bobby Brown makeup artist as well. So this is really like today's class. What I want to do is talk to you about getting the most for your money out of your editorial. All right, so what I think would be the most important thing for me going into an editorial job is being able to come out with a really comprehensive set of images, or coming out with images that are going to really be phenomenal for my book, and being able to showcase my ability to do very clean beauty with a stylistic edge on it. So when we talk about doing editorial work, definitely, you know, the dream is to be able to do a beauty-focused editorial, right? We all want to do something for Zing, because you know you're going to have your work showcased in its full glory with a close crop, and you're going to see all of that detail of your work. But you might not get that opportunity. You might be doing editorial for fashion. Your makeup might be playing a backseat. The other thing that I think is really important about your editorial work is that you come up with a basic theme or a core principle, and from there you allow yourself some flexibility to change that look. So for example, if we were doing an editorial all about brows, definitely you'd want to showcase a few different styles of brows, you know what I mean? Maybe the overarching theme is all bold brows, but you're playing with different texture, you're playing with different hair strokes, you're playing with different color. Maybe your editorial theme is texture, and all you're playing with is different textures of makeup: matte, shimmer, dewy, satin. So I'm coming up with, now I'm going to give you guys a very fictitious editorial, so I think you need context for what I'm about to do today. So my editorial story is that this woman sitting in front of us here she's a wealthy socialite. I'm giving her the life I don't have. Just life is fun. She's a wealthy socialite, and she enjoys pool parties, regattas, galas, after parties, right? So her whole story is like her day, all right? So she's gonna start out in her day, clean satin skin, like I want to showcase my skin skills here, right? Gorgeous, just like maybe a focused lip, everything else clean beauty. Then she's gonna go to like her like pool party, her evening pool party, and she's gonna get a little bit more done up. And then she's going to go to her after party, and she's going to have like the most like expressive makeup on by that point. But because I want to think about your market, I don't want to do anything like too dirty, too weird, too gritty. Like I think DC likes very polished, beautiful, clean beat faces. Am I correct? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Jay Brandon was right then. I counseled him. I was like, what do you think I should do? Should I do like a negative brow? And he was okay, should go back to beauty then. And then the other thing that like, if I were going to title this, it would be called like Color Rebel or something, because the way that she expresses herself is through pop color. So she might be all like perfect in label and beat, but she's really just, her personality comes out with these rebellious neon pops of color. All right, let's get down to it. Boom. So what I've already got her prepped with is I've got her done with face and body, number 18 and number 12, really across her shoulders, across her décolleté, down her neck. On her face right now is just matte velvet number 70. And I also took a little tiny bit of number 4 HD primer. And this is the caramel color. And I like this just for toning down any kind of gray tone on the skin. So I just took that through a few places, just kind of around your chin, around your mouth, just to kind of mute out any gray tone. And now what I want to do is I want to start to build some additional coverage with sculpting. So you'll see on my palettes, I've got several colors from that camouflage palette, number 4. And what I'm really going to start to do is I'm going to start with a little bit more like in-depth color correction as I'm working skin. And then I'm going to start my highlights. And then I'm really going to step back and look at her and go, how much, if any, contour do I need on you? Do I need it to be warm? Do I need it to be high contrast, low contrast? So I'll sit and really build the skin. And then I'll start to add in some nice texture. So I might start to add in some shimmer, some gloss, some sheen. And then I'm going to build in a bold lip. Then I'm going to build in a color pop on the eye, a bigger color pop on the eye. And then maybe we'll switch the look at the end for a little bit more variation. So right now, I have you look straight ahead. I'm starting with the lightest gold color in my number 4 camo palette. What brush? Thank you, ma'am. This is the number 230. Another brush I might use for something like this would be the 226. And the 226 it's the same exact shape, it's just slightly smaller than the 230. I honestly grab whatever is closest to me that looks like roughly the right size. Now the other thing that I love about doing these kinds of events is you've seen some different styles of doing makeup today. And you'll see a third one now. And I think that this is the most fun thing we can do as makeup artists, is just to watch those little moments in terms of like how different artists work, what their preferred tools are. Those little aha moments. I think when like AJ did that thing with the sponge and the mascara, I think everyone lost their mind for a minute. I was like, ow! I've been using a business card like a total scumbag. And that's so much more delicate and beautiful. And what you'll notice is when I'm working and when I'm doing my skin work, you're gonna laugh. First of all, I squint my eyes. I should probably put Marielle's glasses on. Number 1, Marielle and I are sharing glasses. So you know budget's an issue today. Number 2, I squint my eyes a lot because I'm partially blind, but also because I have to see light value. So if you see me kind of doing this and making this face, yeah, it's probably because I can't see, but it's also because what I'm checking is the overall contrast and intensity of the light and the dark that I'm putting on her skin. So like I don't worry so much about the blend to begin with. What I do is I come in, so I'm working with cream, you know. I come in and I start to look at where these high points are going to go on her face and how much brighter I need it to be. So like I got that on there, and I'm going to come back here and kind of give her a little stare or a squint. And that's going to help me see if I need to pump that contrast up and make it lighter, or if I need to kind of take it down, not so light. I also am a big fan of using a sponge. And I'm sure you guys have noticed I'm doing this like frantic tapping, right? This is just the way I learned how to do makeup. I love sponges, I love puffs. I like really pressing. There's definitely a lot of makeup artists, and I will say that, you know, when you're working definitely at like AJ's level, like you're elegant. You're an elegant person that way. You spend a lifetime honing your craft. This for me is a little bit more of a realistic kind of beat down in terms of when I'm working maybe fuller coverage products into the skin. And I'm not just so focused on building like a beautiful, like satiny, soft, like gorgeous kind of sheer skin. Definitely her skin I want to be clean, but it's also important for me for it to be very well covered. Like I almost want her to look a little bit artificial. So I'm gonna spend some time really working this in. I think the other thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lighten up my yellow with this middle gold. Okay, so this is the #1 camouflage palette. And I think I may have made a testimonial, a really long testimonial for you guys about why I love these palettes. But I do feel like if I have two of them, one light, one deep, I can do absolutely everyone's skin. So for instance, right now I'm taking a lighter gold and I'm mixing it into my deeper gold from my #4 palette. And I'm making a slightly more popped highlight. So that's why I like to have these guys. And this is going to allow me to come in and do a couple little like highlight details. Like I wanted her highlight in the center of her nose to be more popped. I want her highlight on her cheekbones to be a little bit more popped. She's a socialite. She's not about natural. She did not spend her life at the Oregon Country Fair eating wild blackberry preserves. Not like no. She's a high maintenance lady in my mind. So you guys can see where we placed really more of her pop highlight. And then I'll come back in my sponge. And the reason why I do this little pat and stipple is because I'm sort of moving the product around, like I'm scooping it. Like scoop, 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 scoop. But I'm also picking up a little of the excess product on my sponge. So the sponge serves a couple different purposes for me. The sponge makes it look more skin-like because you're really pressing it in. It also removes it. It removes excess so it doesn't look too cakey by the end. And just FYI, the sponge that I'm using, don't kill me. I'm using another sponge that we do sell in a minute. This sponge we don't have today. It's called the Ellipse sponge though. And what it is it's basically an ultra dense latex sponge. So just like a dense like brush, it's gonna pick up and put down and move around foundation and more cream product than like a fluffy brush would. The next sponge I'm gonna use is called the round synthetic sponge, and we do have it to sell today. Ta-da! And that particular sponge I like for using my contour colors because it's a little fluffier. So it doesn't put so much product down, and I know I'm not going to make her complexion muddy by overusing or overpressing. She's quite illuminated through the front of that face. So what we need to do is we need to bring in a little bit more of that warmth, but I'm not worried about it right now. I'm just going to take the excess that I have also, and I'm going to hit her collarbone. I would say, you know, what I do like about the Europeans and what I do like about working for a French company is that they acknowledge the neck and the décolleté as part of the face. And I think sometimes we forget about that over here in the US, but there are some very pretty parts of a woman's body, and the clavicle is one of them. So I always like to take a minute and do a little highlight in there too, as long as I'm doing the face. Okay, so now guys, let's move into the sponge that I was talking about, which is, it's the round synthetic sponge. Now I cut mine up into like these hilarious little pieces, but for me, I like a piece of a sponge because I can squish it around. So I'll buy like the round synthetic sponge, and then I'll cut it in half or in quarters, and then I have these little custom pieces that I can use to sort of get into the nooks and crannies of the face. And that's one of my favorite contouring tools of all time. Like I don't even sometimes go in with a brush anymore with contour. Or if I do, I try to use more of a fluffy brush, because what I have found from my own personal hand and my own personal mistakes, and there are many, is that sometimes when I go in with a brush, like a flat foundation brush, and I'm gonna like carve it out and get all YouTube on it, I'm gonna cut some corners because I'm rushing for time. It always goes wrong on me. Always, always, always. I always end up with streaky contour. So what I've learned is just to go a little bit easier. So I'm going to start by building her contour in, right at her hairline. I'm going to be very gentle around the baby hairs. So what I like to do is I like to use one side of my puff with my actual product on it, sorry, I should say sponge. And then I flip over to my dry side. I do a little bit of light blending.
Is that more of a mix than the camouflage palette?
Yes, ma'am, it is. The question was, is this more camouflage palette? It is. It's from the number 4. And it is the number 4 camo palette. It's the sort of amber color mixed with the rich chocolate color. And I would say I've got them a little bit more amber to chocolate in terms of my ratio.